Hey, it's James, Fathers Rights and Resource, hashtag how I got custody. I've discussed this little point or trick. I guess it's not a trick, but it's a little point that I would use, and I wish I would have done early on in my case. I've discussed it before, but it's been a while, so I'll do it again. So especially starting out on a case, I wish I would have done this from the beginning of my case. Every time I got a court document, I should have scanned it and saved it and put it in chronological order. And I'll type in an example below of how a list of documents would look in my file, like just the first couple. Now you can organize by date or by index number or sub number, like in for example, in Seattle, in the courthouse, King County, we have access to the file. Well, Pierce County is even better, where Tacoma is. You can pay $25 and have full access to your account. You could download anything. You could look at the case schedule. You could look at the profile of the case and all the documents. And it's basically full access as if you were at the courthouse. You get to see everything. In King County in Seattle, you can't look at documents online like you can in Pierce County. So Pierce County is probably the best in Washington if you're in Washington. But Pierce County just puts everything in the order of the date. King County has a sub number or an index number for every document. So if you look at King County's thing, I'll write this thing the way that you see it in King County's file. And this is the way I should have done from the beginning. When I first started fighting, I would put my motions, the mother's motions, petitions, and everything. I just put them in envelopes. Like, here's the beginning of the case. Here's this motion. Here's the next motion. Here's discovery. I should have just saved the stuff and scanned it in chronological order. And now that everybody serves each other via email, or in places like in Seattle, when you e-file, you can click a button and you e-serve the person, and it automatically goes to their email, and then you have a receipt for serving them, and you can file the receipt. So everything's all done in one spot. You guys have it so much easier. I used to have to go to Kinko's, pay for copies, deliver copies to an attorney, run down to the courthouse and drop stuff off, working copies for the judge and for the file. You guys have it so much easier nowadays than back in 2001 when I started. And 2001 wasn't the end of it. You know, I had a critic come on here and say, call me and say, you don't know what you're doing. You haven't been in court for 20 years. I have been in court off and on for 20 years. That person wasn't paying attention, and he's typical of the typical average dude. He doesn't know how to listen, doesn't know how to pay attention, absorb what I'm talking about, or only watched one or two of my videos and made a bunch of judgmental presumptions because he lost and he can't believe I actually won. And I didn't win at first. I just kept at it and kept at it and kept at it. And that's the number one factor that you need. So this guy is saying, oh, you don't even know what you're doing. You haven't been in court 20 years. You're outdated. First of all, I can still study legal principles and rules. They're all online. Second of all, I actually have been in court. And I told you guys about restraining order court that I've been in, where I had to get one last year. I was in court when my daughter was 19 years old because I was dealing with college child support. So, and plus, the fact that I won in the Court of Appeals in 2005 and in 2012, that's recent enough. I could have won another time, but I just didn't want to bother with it. So, what I like to do is, save stuff in chronological order, and I'll put the date with the year first, then the month, then the date. The reason why I do that, I was actually at a law firm, and I suggested that we all get on a system where we do that, and they copied my little system. And one of the attorneys was so dumb, she said, how come you don't put the month first? Because if you have a case that lasts 2 or 3 years, then all the Marches will be 03, whatever, 2015, March 2016, March 2017. So you have all the months bunched together. So you want to have the year first, so all the years from 2015 are in one place, and then the months, and that will keep everything in chronological order. I don't know why I needed to explain that to somebody with a law degree, but most of these lawyers don't have the common sense God gave a monkey on a lot of stuff. So, but also if I was in Pierce County, I would just put the dates. Like, you see the way that I put it here? I have the date and the name of the document, and it's scanned in. So when I go look online, or let's say I have a laptop at a court hearing, or I print out my list of documents, I could access them on my laptop, and I'm in court and I say, Your Honor, I want you to take judicial notice of the motion that was filed in 2017, June 5th. And boom, you got it right there if you want to look at it and read one of the lines. Or if you're in King County, you could tell the judge, Your Honor, I'd like you to take judicial notice of a declaration the mother wrote last year. It's sub number 45. And now you got like 250 documents in your file. I'd like you to take judicial notice of sub number 45. Back then, the mother said I was a wonderful father. Now she's saying I'm a monster. She's changing her story. So you can kind of throw something their way if you know your file, if you know it well and you have it organized. But for the most importantly, this keeps everything in an organized fashion. And at home, your file looks like it does at the clerk's office at the courthouse. I wish I would have done that. I got, a few tubs of forms from back then. The average person who has a hotly contested divorce or custody battle usually has about 200 to 250 documents in the file by the end of the custody battle. I got 1,150 documents in my file. Now that's over the course of years, but the mother has probably the craziest attorney I've ever seen. Now I tell people, everybody says they got the craziest opposing attorney they've ever seen. That's because that's the only one you've experienced. I've seen thousands of attorneys and their antics. This guy is the craziest one. And I had other attorneys who were afraid to fight him. Or when I was calling around for an attorney, I said, they said, well, I need 10,000 instead of 5,000 to deal with that guy because he just drives up costs on purpose. So he called an Asian attorney a racial slur, the C word for Asians. He lost cases on purpose for female clients, and they would go broke and they would lose everything. He said, oh, you poor dear, you can come live with me. And what about my bill? I can't work. Oh, you can just work in my home office as a legal secretary and then just work off my bill. So he set up a free slave labor operation. So he had a free employee. He just had to do some work, lose the case, and she was doing all kinds of work for him for free. Sick, twisted. And then I told that to the Bar Association. They're like, because those are clients and stuff, that's a malpractice case. We only deal with ethical violations. So that was the bar covering up for him, a guy named Jonathan Burke, who obviously approved of Asian hate. Remember, there's a hashtag Asian hate. Like this, as the stuff that they want us to live by. They want us to be perfect parents. They want us to never be angry and never show any emotion. That's what attorneys do all the time in a court case. They'll harass somebody, threaten them, and do all this other stuff. That's one thing I would say in court. All the stuff you're expecting me to do, her own attorney doesn't even do that. You're allowed a free-for-all in here. I told the court one time, I tried to get 2 anti-harassment orders against her attorney. I didn't win them, but I let him know, you keep playing around with me, I'm going to drag you in court again, and you're going to have to do all this extra work outside. And one time he wrote me a letter saying, if you drop the bar complaint and the anti-harassment complaint, then my client won't launch a restraining order against you and won't launch a contempt. I'm like, screw you. If I'm in contempt, go for it. Why would you drop that? And why are you using your client as leverage when this has to do with you? It's separate. So he was full of crap, and they never launched, and I didn't drop the stuff, and they never launched a contempt and a restraining order. They had previously lost a contempt and a restraining order against me. So, but the main point of this is one thing that makes this less stressful. I talk to people all the time. I got papers here, papers there. If you scan your paperwork, I got people who look at the paperwork. I'll say, what's the title of the document? And they'll read through the whole document and look at everything except the title. The title, just like in a book or a story or a report or an article, is at the top of the page. It's not that hard to find. But you're so traumatized, you forget even like common sense. Like, where do I look for the title of a document? Usually on the first page. So, just save the title and then, the number, the sub number, index number, and the date. If you do it from the beginning, you just take a few minutes. It's maybe a pain in the butt, but it's only a pain in the butt for a few minutes. And then down the road, several months, you got everything scanned to a file. Maybe do a backup flash drive so you have 2 files in case you lose one. And boom, you can access your file immediately as if you're going down to the courthouse looking for it. And it's at the click of a mouse instead of you going through a tub of paperwork or this or that and scan stuff. And then maybe you have discovery like that's 500 pages long. You keep that in a file somewhere else. But everything else is 5, 10, 15, 80 pages. Scan that stuff and keep it organized. I wish I would have done that. It would have made my life a lot easier, especially when I started off, it was all hard copies, everything. I could have scanned the stuff then and organized it, or eventually done it like every day, do a couple of them to catch up. But I didn't, and I have a little bit of chaos from early on in my case. But that's how I'd organize it, like this stuff right here.